bring it down hard.
Hey everyone, welcome to the part of the review where I can't talk about a lot of it, but I'm still gonna try to sell the movie to you anyway. The second time I'm recording this because the first time I did this, my whole computer crashed and unsaved everything as I was nearly finished with it, so wahoo! Going into this movie, I was very skeptical, especially following the hit 1993 classic that was the first Mario movie, and as well the very sketchy track record that Illumination had made for themselves. As I said going to this theater, this movie is either going to be the greatest or worst movie of all time. And I'm very, very happy to report that it seemed to be a lot more towards the latter. This movie is not perfect by any means, but if you are into Nintendo games or just like animated movies that are a fun time and at least decently written, you are going to at least get something out of this movie and you will enjoy it. This film is packed to the brim, just completely overstuffed with fan service, almost to an intimidating degree, the amount of fan service they crammed into this film. I liked it, but it is a bit intimidating, but it doesn't take away from the film, and you don't have to know it in order to enjoy the film. I went in with my two siblings who one knew some and one knew like very, very little, if anything, about it, and both of them enjoyed it just as much as me. So if that's any indication of the quality of this movie. Now, let's get into the deeper detail. Okay, so the biggest thing that I was worried about going into this film was the voice direction, I guess more accurately the voice cast. And the biggest immediate red flag for me, as was most people, was Chris Pratt in the role of Mario. And while it's not perfect, and I still will die on the hill that I think they should have just gotten Charles Martinet, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. It really wasn't. I think the opening scene where they kind of ease you into the voice of him trying to match Charles Martinet's sort of vibe is probably the best thing they could have done, and everything ended up being quite successful. There was some big standouts though above Chris. I think Charlie Day as Luigi, Jack Black as Bowser, and Keegan-Michael Key as Toad all were, I think, the best. The only one that really stood out as bad in any way to me was, I think, Cranky Kong, which wasn't necessarily horrible by any means. It just didn't feel like it matched the energy of the character, but at the same time, I don't think they wrote the character the same way at all, so I guess with what they were going for, it worked. Just felt a little off. The animation, a lot of the choreography, pretty much everything visually throughout this film is incredibly appealing. It looks really good, never really dipped below good. It reaches great. I wouldn't say it's fantastic across the board, but it never reaches below, like, it never goes under good. Like, it's always at the very minimum good. I really enjoyed a lot of what they went for. The plot itself isn't really much to write home about, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. This doesn't need to be a 2 to 3 hour fucking mindfuck movie. It's Mario. It's a animated Mario family movie. So I wasn't going in expecting anything crazy, and for what it was fine. The characters are written well and feel like, it's other than really Cranky Kong, everyone feels pretty accurate, which I appreciate. There's a lot of not only fan service, but everything is very, very accurate down to the minute details, other than a few things. I think the biggest one to me was Shy Guys were kind of wrong, especially in the, like, they didn't make the right sounds, they spoke proper English, it was a little bit weird. I really like some things like Dry Bones, make the correct sounds, all the items interact the correct way, like the blocks, everything. There's a lot of good fan service here. I really popped for DK Rap being Donkey Kong's theme song in his fight scene. The Punch-Out Pizzeria, the R-Wing, and the GameCube ringtone were all kind of the biggest ones to me. Also, Charles Martinet's cameo, great. There's only really a few small negatives that I had with this. I think the two biggest ones for me was I really didn't like the outside copyrighted music that they put into this film. A couple of them didn't bother me so much. Take On Me was kind of whatever. I didn't mind the Beastie Boys song at the start. That actually kind of worked. Mr. Blue Sky by Electrical Light Orchestra was also kind of whatever, and I think it's funny that this is another film with Chris Pratt as the lead that has that song as a prominent feature in it. The two biggest egregious ones that I didn't like was I Need a Hero. One, it just made me think of Shrek, and two, it just didn't fit the scene. Like, it fit the scene, which felt very ham-fisted in, is I guess a more accurate way to put it. And AC/DC's Thunderstruck over the Mario Kart sort of kart building sequence was really forced and felt incredibly unnatural. Just didn't like that flat out. It rubbed me the wrong way. And then said the Mario Kart scene itself is fun. It does feel a little bit weird because everything is mainline Mario pretty much exclusively. It's like Mario 1, 3, a little bit of 2, World 64, Galaxy, Odyssey, 3D World, and you get some new soup in there, a couple little references to Sunshine and Luigi's Mansion, and then Mario Kart. So like it's the only spin-off that gets like any sort of spotlight, at least as far as my remembrance. I don't remember there being anything for like Mario Party, any of the sports games, anything like that. No, none of the RPGs, maybe not even Mario Maker, I don't know. So it's a little bit weird that out of all, like, of course Mario Kart is the most iconic, so I get it. I think it's just weird that it's only one spin-off and nothing else. It's just mainline Mario Kart, that's it. Just felt a little bit weird. The other thing that I was not a big fan of was, I didn't like Peach's character as much as I think other people did. Not to say I think her character is bad. And it's really just down to, I think, that her character is, it feels too much like they just put Daisy's personality over Peach. And in printing the argument, then, oh, that's what Peach's original character was supposed to be. Okay, then that's on Nintendo for not characterizing her right. And then, like, there's a miscommunication and jumble up somewhere here. And it might just be because I prefer Daisy, so maybe I'm just a little bit butthurt. And I will fully admit to that if that's the case. And again, it's not that a character is bad. I guess I like Daisy. The guilty is charged. As well, that's another thing that I'll point out is you can definitely tell from a humor perspective that this is an Illumination film, because there's a lot of Illumination humor in this, which is not Minions levels of bad, but it still does kind of, it's hit or miss is the best way to put it. It's very hit or miss. I think it hits more than it misses. I laughed at, not with, but laughed at the ending of this film. I think the solution to the problem being putting Bowser in the cum jar was unintentionally funny in the way that I don't think they were going for. But at the end of the day, I think the movie turned out probably the best that it really could have with all the cards on the table. I think they did a very good job with it, and I left pretty happy. I saw a lot of comparisons made between the Mario films and the Sonic films, and I think that's half fair and half unfair, because they're two different things. And there's going to be comparisons to Mario and Sonic all the time. There's comparisons between their games, shows, anything. And I think Mario probably does win in this category, but at the end of the day, it doesn't have to be a one or the other thing. I enjoyed both. So, I'm hoping that this opens the door for more video game films, because I liked this, I like Sonic, I like Detective Pikachu, but I saw this on Twitter. For the love of God, this does not need to be an MCU. If you wanted to do more Nintendo films on Illumination, great. I love Zelda. I think Punch-Out would be really fun. Kirby would probably be a really good thing for Illumination to do, but we don't need a Smash Bros. Avengers film. For the love of God, we don't. But I'll probably still watch it if they do it anyway. That said, this film's good. If you like Nintendo, if you just like good animated family movies, you'll like it. There's something to hear for most people. If you don't like those things, it's a bit of a tough sell, but I think it's a fun film. The viewing that we went to, there was no one younger than 13 there. It was a bunch of teenagers and young adults, and we all left applauding, especially after the post-credit scene. So I think most people, especially people in the demographic who watch YouTube, are going to end up liking the film.